Hello, everyone. In case we haven't met, my name is Dr. Harmony, and I will help you live fearless, live loved, and live free. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. And make sure to hit that notification bell so that you know when all my videos and content come live. And today I have a very, very, very special surprise for you. I could not be more honored to introduce to you, if you've not already met, my collaborator, Tatiana Hassan. I'm going to make sure that post a video on the magic we create together and a link above or in a card or a link below, because the magic that Tatiana and I have created has been so fruitful in a sense of downloading codes. The card deck, that the Twin Flame Ascension card deck Tatiana had was the artist for all of those images, and it will not be long until that deck launches. But in addition to that, she has translated my book, Twin Flame Codebreaker, into Spanish. And now she has come on board to offer all of you Twin Flame astrology readings on every level. So we're going to hear from her about her journey and her purpose and her mission and her Twin Flame alignment with the highest calling of her mission being astrology. And I say highest because I got a chance to experience her work in a reading that she did a few days ago, and I was blown away. I have had a lot of astrology readings, and Tatiana is so amazing, and such, you can just see her passion. You can see her, you can see it now. So I'm going to let her introduce more about herself, her passion, how she's got into this astrology. She's going to talk to us about the astrology, some basics, and the surprise that I have for you. I have to tell you first is, well, a couple of things. Stay tuned to the end because we have a surprise for you and a special for you as well. However, the surprise is that we are going to start a Twin Flame astrology report coming at the first of every month. And so this one's going to be our launch and our kickoff today on July 1st of 2021. But each month you can start to expect a reading, an astrology reading from her that's going to give us the monthly energy based on the astrology report, so that we can actually use that information to become our best selves, to come into the highest calling and connection to our purposes, and also call in divine love. So thank you so much, Tatiana, for joining and coming on board.
Thank you so much, Harmony. This is absolutely amazing. Thank you for bringing me in here and being part of the journey with me, because I think this is all divinely guided. There's no coincidence, and that's obvious since the day we met. For those who don't know the story, I think we have a video where we tell the story how we met. But in short, we met because I was following Dr. Harmony as in the Twin Flame journey, because I am in this journey myself. And when we met, I had these visions of these diamond-like codes, and we kind of connected through that. I connected with her, and since then we've been collaborating, and it's almost like we're part of the same monad. We're the same energy. So we're here to bring, same stardust, like a lot of us, like all of us, right? We're all the same stardust. So now the fun part of how I came into now becoming the healer that I am becoming. And this is funny because I would have never seen really that it would come through everything I've done in my life is coming to this point of culmination right now, to be able to become this version of me that I never thought I would. You know, there's a point, and to put in context, I used to be, I'm still are, but I was very into dance, musical theater. I was a jazz dance teacher, performer. I still dance, but that was like my life. And I wanted to be like a Broadway dancer, and that was my context. But when life says you're ready for your actual mission, you don't have a say in it.
No, you're not kidding.
And you're going to laugh at this, because astrology had already foretold that I would be doing this, but I didn't know. I mean, I kind of knew, but I was not understanding how. This is why. When I was 4, my mother had an astrologer read me my chart. when I was a little girl, a baby, right? And he said, I really have this. She will become an astrologer at the time or at the end of this of a certain cycle, which is this cycle. This is called the midlife crisis cycle, basically. This is when you come into.
Oh, that's what this journey is, a midlife crisis. Just
yeah, the midlife crisis, kind of. So you will become an astrologer, and I'm like, so all my life, I kind of liked it, but I never connected. I was not like, I just wanted to be a dancer, and I studied dance and art. So I'm a visual artist, and I've always expressed myself in dance, art, and now I also make music. So I always was connected to that, and I was like, I don't know what astrology is. It's fun, it's cool. I read the horoscopes, and then lo and behold, exactly as he had predicted, something activated in me when that exact transit started hitting me. It's like, okay, ding, 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 time for the astrology. And I cannot explain what happened. It took over as passion. Like once a friend of mine told me, hey, look, this is an astrology chart and these are the little symbols. And I'm like, this is a language. And I speak several languages, by the way. That's why I translated the book.
yes.
By the way. When I understood that astrology was the language of the stars, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
I love that.
If I can translate from English to Spanish or to French, I can translate star to human. It was
whoever.
Exactly, star to psyche. And then I understood, it is a system of symbols. It's a language. So my mind that is wired for this, and astrologically, you can actually see it in my chart. That's why that astrologer had seen it. He knew that I was wired like that. But I kind of didn't understand it until the planet Uranus came and said, time for you. Wake up. This is now your time to do this, and this is your mission. Boom. I started like obsessing myself, studying, taking courses, so I did the whole shebang, and I'm just like devouring books, hundreds of hours of videos. And then I started like every astrologer. We start with all our friends. Can I read your chart? Can I read your chart? That's how we start, because we want to practice. So I did that for a while, like just reading and then asking questions and corroborating. And every time I was more blown away. And then I started doing some astrology videos, and it just happened. And here I am, like, how did this happen, right? It's like, when did the dancer choreographer became astrologer?
Wow.
No, goodness, right? It's like, how did that happen? It was orchestrated already by this system of higher knowing that is our soul, our memories of what we came to do, the
so
planet.
Are you saying then people could get an astrology reading based on their astrological chart, and it will tell them what their soul purpose and mission is, which is actually,
absolutely,
you didn't know what my highest mission and calling was until you told me my reading either. Like, exactly. And I knew what it was, which I'll share that another time, but you did the same thing for mine as well.
Without knowing. And that's the thing. It's like, I was just blown away by the accuracy of why this millenary practice, it's been with us for like about 5,000 years, if not more, since the Sumerians, right? So this is ancient. This is ancient knowledge that's being developed, and as the consciousness evolves, so does the understanding of astrology. And this is why I would like to introduce to you, for those who are not very familiar, to why astrology is important, what it is, and why we should all connect to it as part of this galactic collaboration and co-creation. We're not just alone here on Earth. The Earth is also conscious, and so are all the other planets and all the stars. So we are not like, I am.
Who can help us, right? Like, if we know this information as a roadmap and a blueprint, we can prepare for
Yeah,
what we need to clear and let go of and align with and to bring in what we're calling in. It helps us get super clear.
absolutely. So what happens with astrology? Yes, it is the language of the stars translated by the consciousness of beings who could access that intelligence through the collective psyche, which we already know. We're all connected, all connected. So that information is like a grid or a web of information, like a huge internet that you plug into it. And that's what we all, when we channel, or people that channel, they just open the channel and then you just access the internet of all that is, right? And astrology is no different. It's a system of information that is also connected to the consciousness of planets. We are all co-creating. That's why people say, like, well, but why is the Earth in this particular cycle right now? And this is what that's the magic word, cycle. Because astrology studies and observes cycles. You know, cycles. Everything goes around. And that is like fact. You wake up, the sun's up, you go to sleep, sun's down. You know, that's a cycle. In this dual existence and where we are, this particular third dimensional reality is based on polarities, is based on cyclical things. So it does evolve. Of course, there's multi-dimensions and other levels and other realms, yes, but if you woke up this morning here on Earth, we are ruled by these cycles and these norms of
So
reality.
basically, if I understand you correctly, knowing your astrological alignment is literally connected to, say, this life, this plane, this dimension, this physical.
Absolutely. This
So
reality.
that way, as us as multidimensional people, we can figure out which realm we're living in, maybe?
Yeah, kind of.
That's what
Because
I'm thinking.
let's say if your consciousness is already disembodied from this, it's astrology or the planets or the psyche doesn't necessarily apply. You know, when we talk about the planets of karma, like Pluto or Saturn, well, we know it's like almost like a little guide of instruction of how this reality on this game is played. This is why it gives you a roadmap. If you're already disembodied in totality consciousness, well, this is kind of irrelevant because you're already dissolved, right? But if you woke up this morning, you're not dissolved. Let me tell you. You're still in a physical body, and yes, we can access levels of consciousness, but if you're still on Earth, we're still having to play by these rules, let's say. And well, if we have a roadmap, a GPS, why would we not play life, like our little video game life, to create and co-create with the energies that come? And this is where astrology is really important. It's cycles and energy is neutral. What this means is that it's not good or bad. Energy is energy. It is like the weather. So for example, if you live in Arizona and in the desert, well, you know the weather. There's sun, there's heat, and then you know what to do in that weather. If you live here, where I live in Victoria, in Canada, well, you know there's lakes and water and whatever. If you live in the tropics, you know you're gonna have. So you know the weather. If you live in the tundra, you're gonna be freezing. So you prepare for it. It's just weather. It is what it is. So astrology, because it gives us cycles, it gives us the energetic weather. And why is this important? Because the weather is for the planet as much as it is for people, for everything. The weather is the weather. Your particular weather, and this is what the birth chart is, when you're born, on the day you're born, it's like a timestamp that says this person was born here, here, here. And at that moment, from the earth, you look at the sky and you can see the map where things were exactly by the exact minute. It is mathematical. It's not invented. It's not woo-woo. It's precise. It's mathematical. So when you know that, you get your weather pattern for your life.
Wow.
So the weather pattern for your life is, well, you live in Arizona and it's the desert. You know that instead of like complaining, oh, I was born in this heat and this things, like, what is the best I can do with this weather? That's why having a birth chart reading is so important, because it's not that you're doomed to a weather. There's much more to it. It's you chose your weather as much as you chose your family you were born into. You chose certain things that would occur to you, not the exact thing, but what would set the patterns so that you could play the game of life and co-create it. And you came with missions, and it's part of being here on earth and here on this existence. There's missions, there's things to do at the soul level. When we're connected to the solution of all, well, the purpose is just the nothingness, but well, we're here, we might as well enjoy the ride, right?
So that means we also co-create that with our partner, other half, twin flames, soulmates, whatever the case be. We co-create that with them also, right? To be able to be in that alignment?
Absolutely. We co-create with every single being that is alive on the planet. So, and this is where we're going to go into why it's important to first know thyself. Because if you do not know thyself and what you're here to do, what your weather is, how are you going to match with another weather? Maybe you have, Arizona weather with the tundra, and like, how are you going to make that work? Well, that's why it's important to know yourself, know your patterns, know why you're incarnated, know what things you came with. All of it, it's in the birth chart. The birth chart doesn't tell you what's going to happen. It tells you this is the weather. And it's up to you. Your free will is how are you going to write it? What are you going to do with it? There's lower and higher octaves of expression, because in this dual reality, we do have the higher expression of something and the lower. Mm-hmm. It's the same. The energy of a planet is not good or bad. It's the higher expression or the lower expression. If you have a difficult challenge that you can see in your chart, it's not like, oh, I'm doomed. It's more like, why did I choose this challenge? Maybe I need to step up to something. Then there's different, in the evolution of astrology, there's different, astrology has been evolving since it was created, right? Because it also matches the level of consciousness. So we get more understanding of how we're evolving into higher dimensional beings. That's part of it. And the consciousness of planets are like little characters that talk to each other, and they have an archetypal feel or vibe. So when I say an archetype, is something that just repeats and repeats and repeats. So when we say Mars, immediately we can sense and feel the warrior energy, the first responder, but it's also the anger. But all of that corresponds to Mars. So we know, a guy in a motorcycle going a million miles an hour, that's very Martian. So we know, that's the archetype. It's very different from Venus sitting in her, or in her garden, like with grapes, and it's a very different archetype. So when we learn these archetypes and these archetypal fields, we can blend you, because all of us, we express those archetypes. And for those who don't know, Carl Jung was an astrologer as well, the father of modern transpersonal psychology, and kind of brought this ideas that the collective psyche, we're connected to it, and that astrology could give us those clues. And this is why when we understand what types of astrology there is, we can also know how to better address ourselves. So in the history of astrology, then I can go into what I do and how I can help, and why this is important for you to know yourself, and then attract or be with either your twin, your soulmate, or whatever you're supposed to be here to achieve your wholeness. We are here all on a personal journey, and that you have heard Dr. Harmony speak about that. It's a journey, it's a path to wholeness. Wholeness is me within me, with my masculine feminine, completely whole. It's not me codependent looking outside of me. What astrology does, it shows us what I do not, what's me, and I don't own it, I will project it. And if I project it, I will create those situations until I integrate it. For what? For personal growth and evolution. It's still only personal. So if you manage to get those little ding, ding, this is what I'm working on, then when you meet your twin flame, your soulmate, your divine counterpart, we're going to call them divine counterparts, your conscious partner, whatever you want to call it, label or no label. It's something that you choose. It's not like, oh, it happened to me. It's like, I'm choosing consciously, and I'm choosing to create a harmonious, conscious partnership. But if I don't know myself and my weather pattern, it's very difficult. And you can see, you can see that. So in astrology, we have the ancient astrologers, or Hellenistic astrology, dealt with it was fate, and planets were almost like, again, these characters that were also related to mythological characters, like Saturn was Kronos, or Jupiter was Zeus, and through the mythology we could understand their archetype. But it was very literal back then, and Saturn had like a bad reputation, and Jupiter was the good reputation. And then but in the psyche back then, that's all that the level of consciousness could absorb. So that's why ancient astrology was like deterministic, and this is what's going to happen to you, and boom, boom, boom. It did not allow for the level of transformation and alchemy that us humans are capable of. Back then, an astrologer would say to a king in Egypt, this and this is going to happen. Then that would happen, because the level of consciousness was not enough to say, hey, I'm a free agent with sovereignty. Right now, we're in a moment of the planet where we are achieving sovereignty. This is all we learn in this channel, how to be sovereign beings. So what happened, like as astrology evolved, like somewhere around the 70s, there was a big movement also into, and again with Carl Jung, into when psychology started being a thing, transpersonal psychology. We started having lots of people interested in the nature of the psyche, and how that correlated to the cycles, and why in a cycle, because that's what you always would happen. A cycle comes around, this always happens. So you can put if you have Pluto and Saturn together, there's going to be harsh times, death, and add Jupiter to the mix. It's kind of like, it's always been like that in history, and you can see the cycles of history. And it's like, oh, it keeps repeating. Why? Because us humans are projecting that. When we are unconscious, it just happens. When we are conscious, we create, and we decide what version we create of that as a collective. But it has to start with us first. So once the more archetypal astrology and psychological astrology, like also given by like Liz Green, like many people that developed it, went really deep into understanding how the archetype was connected to the chart, and how we could empower ourselves and achieve healing. When Chiron was discovered, and it's interesting because when the outer planets, called the transpersonal planets, were discovered, you see like Saturn and Uranus and Neptune, not Saturn, sorry, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, were discovered. And Chiron, the asteroid Chiron, the level of consciousness was ready to understand that there was something much bigger than just my little being here surviving in the Unga world. We were beings that were connected to something larger, and suddenly that gets opened to us. So more information comes in. That's when all of this psychic information can come in. That's when astrology itself starts evolving. Then we have Jeffrey Wolf Green, who began to give it another approach, evolutionary astrology. So astrology was really not deterministic. So yes, it was psychological, but then there was another layer. The evolutionary layer is we're here as souls that have a journey as a soul. So it's not just the personality, it's not just the psyche or the psychological implications, it's the soul. So when we start looking at what was your soul doing, what's its path, where is it going, and how you can evolve with it, that's what evolutionary astrology is doing. And there's now esoteric astrology. It also deals with bigger things. So you see, it keeps growing.
And evolutionary is the method that you use. Is that correct?
Yeah, I use archetypal, psychological, and evolutionary astrology as a blend. It's not just not pure. It's more like I'm here, and this is part of my journey and something I learned. Even when I look at my chart, I just laugh. It's like, no wonder, I couldn't escape this because I chose it. And my map was just telling me, well, you chose that. Might as well make it the best, So I feel and sense that I am here to help, like Dr. Harmony, and help people become whole and help people find their inner wholeness so that we can also have harmonious interactions with another. That begins with me, then another, then another 2, then another 3, then another 5, then another 10, then another 100. And guess what? One day we have an earth that is all harmonious because we're all whole. And my mission, together with like Dr. Harmony, is exactly that. We're here to bring this now that the gifts are coming online, because the energy itself is saying time is time. Poof, you're online now. And you're like, online for what? Well, for all of this. So that's when something activates a passion. That's when I started doing this, and I started my spiritual channel, and I started using also movement as a tool to help. I have a whole array of tools that will be introduced also through the channel and through our collaboration, which are tools that you can use of movement and sound healing. But it's not me. It's me in service. It's me, the channel. I came with a gift of being able to ground the ungroundable. I am
as it is in heaven, so it is on earth.
Yes, and I came with that gift, and it's not like, oh, I am this great person. No, that's my ego. It's no, my being knew, and that's why when you see it in my astrology, and I personally came with what it's called an afflicted Venus and an afflicted moon. Afflicted means that it comes with patterning from lifetimes and lifetimes of that needs healing, that is also attached to family lineage, is attached to broader consciousness. And we know that us twin flames also came, we got ourselves more work than we wanted, because we've been here recycling ourselves already a few times around.
Yeah.
So now we've ascended already plenty of times, and now we're back here, we forgot, and we're like, oh, carrying all these things again. That's why we all go through the dark night of the soul. And if you
how would somebody use a reading like this to uncover a course like their plan and their blueprint, but then they would receive information that could help them identify the karma and then be given and shown how to release that karma through the chart? Can you explain that?
Oh, absolutely. So, for example, and it depends, karma can be shown in many different ways, and it depends. Each person has chosen a different path, let's say a different video game with different challenges. Some people choose it a bit simpler. Some people choose a really challenging, I want to get to this life with lots of challenges. But this takes away the responsibility from life is awful to me, things happen to me, and no, I am the creator of my life. I chose this, and I'm going to make the best out of this. So, for example, someone with I'm going to give my own example because I can speak for myself, because I am the living, walking example of why I can help you. I came with an afflicted Venus, the most afflicted that you can get, me,
Which is feminine, just in case anybody doesn't know. That's an afflicted female. Afflicted we all have some form of.
It's the feminine. I came with a double affliction, Venus and the moon, which represent the feminine as in the central feminine, and the feminine as in the mothering feminine, the moon and Venus. In my chart, you could see it. That is the most afflicted area of my chart in all senses. And I could see it with Chiron, with Scorpio, I'm like, oh my God, when I understood that, I was not like, oh, I'm doomed. I'm never going to have a partner and I'm going to suffer all my life. It's like, no, I can now take responsibility and understand that I came with that so I could completely heal it and help heal others. And guess what? Because my path in relationships has been so painful, I have all the experience in the world to say how I can get out of it by using self-love, by using connection to source, by using all the tools that Harmony and I what's her name?
Michelle?
And Michelle are going to give you, right? Because we have tools. This is not like, oh, we came out perfect. No, we had to live through things. We were giving these gifts and tools. And when you begin living that, like a very difficult transit, you can actually see it. And you come like, what's happening to me? When I went through my dark night of the soul, guess what? Lo and behold, an astrologer pointed out to me, that was when I began like studying. I was not yet. And he pointed out to me, he said, you're going through one of the most harsh transit anybody can go to. You're going through a Pluto, Saturn, square to your moon, like a T square. This is like, but don't worry, sister. This only lasts 3 years. And I was like, and Dr. Harmony,
3 years, right?
You remember we were talking through my dark night of the soul, how the levels of anxiety or fear, I felt I wanted to die. I felt I wanted to exit the planet. And he says, this is what Pluto, and this is karmic. This is something that you are living because you chose to live through this so you could transform yourself. And it's like, get the root, not just clip the weed. No, you're gonna dig the hole and get the whole weed out forever, because this has been lingering for lifetime on lifetimes. So when a soul is ready for that, it chooses it in the birth chart. And the transits are, because the planets keep moving. So this is your chart. The planets keeps moving, and when planets kind of hit one of your natal planets, it goes, it highlights and it says beep 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 beep.
Okay.
It keeps moving, and then it highlights another planet, beep, 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 and it cycles. This is why we have cycles. And maybe every 7 years, we have dear Saturn here coming to highlight a cycle and say, beep, 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 beep. Are you taking responsibility in this area of your life? So it's not like we're victims of life. It's the opposite. It's we have this map so we can co-create life, so we can know what to heal and not fall into the same patterns that we fall in, like, oh, I didn't know I'm again with a narcissist person. Well, why it's always happened to me? It's like, well, you have this pattern. You're here to work on it. Look for tools, look for guidance, look for healers, and work on it and take responsibility for it. I
am so excited to have you come on board and collaborate and work with people in regards to connecting it to the sense of being able to not just like, well, in the twin flame community, because we all have like healing that needs to be done from abandonment and all of our wounds. But again, we chose it, and I'm sure it's in our chart. But from a standpoint of you coming on board, I like the idea of how you've taken this to the next step to say, this is your chart. This is how you can make the best of it. Here's how you can choose in your free will to transform and transcend that to become your best version, which is technically what your birth chart, like at the end of your birth chart, technically the whole thing is set up to transcend and transform to become your best you, right?
Absolutely.
So this is like taking astrology and saying, this is my blueprint of how I can become the best version of me, which is like all the work I do. And I had never really seen astrology presented this way. And I've had several presented. And when I had mine, and Tatiana like went through it, and it was just mind blowing what she knew. Even though she knows me, she didn't know like a lot of things that like not at all, but I was like totally blown away. And not to mention how that connects to the counterpart template, that in our divine partnership, being able to do those compatibility charts that you offer as well, to show like when two people come together, are we compatible or are we not? And it's not about, I would say, necessarily having to be fully compatible. Of course, if it is, it makes it an easier journey. But if it's not, at least you know your strengths and your weaknesses and how to build upon those so you can coexist, right? So even like with twin flames, how can we coexist with our polarities, those sorts of things, and with all relationships. Can you share a little bit about the types of services that you're going to be offering? And we're going to have, just so everybody knows, we have a special introductory pricing for one of Tatiana's services I'll share in a minute. But we're going to be offering these different services she's going to share. And we'll have a link below that you can connect to her and the services she's offering today. So can you share with us these services that you're going to be offering?
So I am doing like a complete evolutionary astrology birth chart, which really looks at the whole scope of you. And these are layers and layers and layers. So there's, to give you a perspective, even though I'm an astrologer, I'm still peeling the onion of my own chart. I'm finding things out. So it's not like, oh, one done thing I know it, and oh, this is me. It's my personality. It's like, it's lots of deep layers. So if we really want to go deep, you can know all the basic in-depth things, but things will come into your awareness and your consciousness more and more, like, oh yes, this happened. And also know something, that one energy, it's like, imagine you have a slide with many little slides, like a big, like
flume. Like
this, and you throw a little ball. The ball could go here, 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 here. So the expression of the energy has myriad of possibilities. Each archetype is not like, oh, because you have Saturn, Mars means that you're going to eventually, be in the military or things like that. Because you're going to, you're rebelling against authority or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but it could. But in that way, it depends on how you have chosen to express that energy, right? That this is where the free will comes in. Is the energy is it could express itself in many ways. So when you know that, so in a session, what we do with the evolutionary astrology, this is the one that deals with the soul, with why you're even here.
Yeah.
To me, that's phenomenal, because it's like it gives you a much larger perspective, and it gives you more the why, like, if you're going through something, why? So you can understand and take responsibility and do something about it, and not blame all the outside.
And that's one of the reasons why, because this is the foundation of a starting point of the best place to work outward with all astrology, technically, for birth charts. So that's one of the reasons why Tatiana wanted to offer this 2-hour evolutionary birth chart reading at a special discounted rate and price that you'll see below. This is going to be for the month of July. It's typically $199 for the 2-hour session, and it's going to be for $144 for the 2-hour session, which is a phenomenal deal. And I have had a portion of this done because I also had a compatibility reading with her that was very mind-blowing as well, which she also offers. But this is the one I'm going to go back and get a full extended version of this, because the other one gave just enough of a sample that was already mind-blowing. So that's why I can totally see why this would be a hub of a starting place to build around it. Otherwise, if you don't know yourself as well as you really want to, like you said, then anything else outside of this would make you want more anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing with this reading, I personally recommend that if you want to know a compatibility reading, well, I'd recommend everybody to start with a in-depth astrology reading, because that way you know all the little details and things about you, and you can put it into context. So that leads us and you need the birth time for this. It's very important that the birth time is exact, not like, oh, my mom remembers it was between. No. This is mathematical calculation.
They can get off their birth certificate, correct?
Yes, or the hospital where they were born. Like, it's very important, or the baby book where it was recorded. Why? Because a little, not exact thing could change many things, and then the interpretation varies. So this is why it's like, no, for this we really need exact time. Then there's archetypal. I do an archetypal reading which is more based on your inner psychological motives and how you function. So it's less about the soul's journey and all that, on why you're here, the mission.
Evolutionary one. That's why I love that evolutionary one, because the soul journey, that's what I'm all about. We're all here. Like, that's so important.
Yeah. However, the archetypal one allows you to see why you behave the way you behave, and why your patterns are the way they are. So if you're going to go more into an exploration of why, we go deep into this relationship between planets that are talking to themselves, which are a reflection of you. Inside.
So basically, once you know your soul's journey and why you came here and connect to your purpose through that evolutionary one, if you do the archetype, you can start working on your strengths and weaknesses through that one. Once you have a better really deep into that. Okay.
And you don't need the birth time for the archetype astrology, because you don't, because when the evolutionary astrology, the reason why we need the birth time is because that sets the exact location where the constellations that were rising as the sun was rising, that's why it indicates the rising sign, and that indicates the areas of life where you're going to see your life play out. So it's not the same thing to say I have Saturn in the first house or I have Saturn in the 10th house. Very different Saturn. In evolutionary astrology, we go into that detail. I can tell, yes, I tend to be, maybe I have Saturn Sun. I feel restricted. I don't have a self-authority. I have felt, those feelings or emotions are internal, but you don't know what area of life it expresses itself because you don't have the birth time. So you can feel all of that, and you can unravel your inner psychological dealings in the archetypal astrology, and it can go really in depth, even connected to the when you were born, because this is phenomenal. This was also studied very in depth by Rick Tarnas and Stan Groff, and what happened when you were in the womb and you were being born, how the planets correlate, and it's phenomenal. Like, it's phenomenal when you see how you can see in the birth chart, and you can see certain things, how your birth was. Because there's so much trauma in birth as well that we're kind of unaware of. So they went down into doing that rebirthing, and
and we're doing, to say, a lot of rebirthing and womb healing. That would be very good.
Because a lot of the trauma comes from that, and there's scientific studies around this and how the planets correlate. So when you're having a certain transit, it will correlate to a memory of the baby being squeezed and maybe tangled with the umbilical cord and in pain. Like, the baby gets imprinted by that so that it can live its pattern or experience in life and transcend it. You see, that's it's all. So in the archetypal astrology, you can see these very in-depth psychological things. And you don't need the
you're doing the evolutionary birth chart, the archaeological birth chart,
archetypal,
the birth chart,
and then we're doing So the relationship birth chart is it's a compatibility chart that shows when two people meet, how their weather patterns gel, and what to expect of those weather patterns. Because that way, if you have that in advance, and it's gonna be a rainy relationship, well, get your umbrellas out. It doesn't mean you cannot make it work. It just means you're prepared and you can work on it, and you can have a wonderful relationship, even if well, our together weather is just it's Vancouver. It's raining all the time, right? It doesn't matter. How do people live in Vancouver? Well, they have umbrellas and nice coats, and that's it. You see, you prepare instead of say, "Oh, this is not working. I hate you," or whatever. So the relationship astrology, we have the synastry, that's called the synastry, or there's another type of chart called the composite chart. Once people have been living together, being together, the relationship itself has an expression of itself. It's like a third entity. It's what you do as together, what happens, how your energy expresses as a couple in the world. But that's one you do after. If you first meet somebody that you're really feeling the vibe with, I totally recommend first get an evolutionary astrology reading or an archetypal if you don't know your birth time, or if you want to go in depth into your psychology, and then do the astrology, the compatibilities. It's much better. You'll get such a deep sense of everything.
Yeah.
And then we have the last thing, which is wonderful. It's called a mini focus. The mini focus is basically if you have a question, you're going through something. And what do I look at there? I look at your transits. I look at what's being highlighted right now. Because if you're going through a period of for example, like what happened to me, my Pluto transit, I was perfectly fine, a happy person with a job, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly I started having this horrible darkness night of the soul. I didn't know. Pluto was activating it like big time. So instead of saying what's happening to me, I'm going crazy, I'm going to die. What happened? I used to be a nice person. What's going on? You can see in the transits, you can see in the progressions, you can see that's the other level of information. So why is this important? Because it can help you move through a stage that you might have been having difficulty, or even make a decision about something. Maybe it's not the right timing, but the right timing will come around in maybe 3 or 4 months. You can see that and say, hey, the energy is not supporting this.
Yeah.
But if you wait and you do this instead and you go with the plan, when that comes around, instead of rushing, you'll be able to do this, and it will be more flowing.
Getting focused on what's in front of you at right.
Astrology wants to support flow. So if you're going against the current, like, why go against the weather? You know? You're not gonna go
Yeah,
like,
this is just amazing. I am so excited about this because I've already said, like, I've opened a doorway that, like, I want to know more now. And like Tatiana was saying, she's been digging through and peeling her layers back for a long time. And I'm like literally seeing, like, I can see it now. And it's just so bizarre, like the way you describe it, the way you introduce it, the way you implement in it the connection of being your best self and how it can be a vehicle to help you bring your blueprint into form. And I'm so excited. And thank you so much for taking this time to share with everyone. And as I said, we're going to be coming back on a monthly basis to do the energy reports for the month and where those planets are for each month. And so make sure to mark your calendar and to know on the first of every month, you can expect a astrology report for the energy of the month. And it will be linked in a combination of how that can be used for your personal growth in a collective manner. You know, to do your individual, that would be different, but it's going to come together. I'm assuming, Tatiana, right? More of a collective manner.
What's phenomenal is if you know your chart and you actually know it because you got a reading and you actually have it printed. And even if you don't understand much, but you have your chart in your hand and I'm giving a report and I say, if you have any planet at 2 degrees of Leo, and then you go in your chart and you go like, oh, I have a planet here. Well, that will mean this weather is for you. Not everybody gets activated at the same time, because we're all in different journeys. And you know what? This is the last thing I'll say about this. The reason why it is beautiful to know yourself, your astrology, or your partner's astrology, or your twin flame's astrology, or whoever, your soulmates, your divine counterpart, or your mother, your father, it doesn't matter. When you know and you understand, you access true, unconditional, compassionate understanding for each individual journey. You stop trying to change others because they have their own weather. Don't try to make Arizona into a lush
weather of your twin flame, right?
What?
You can't change the weather pattern of your twin flame either, right?
Exactly. So you have your own acceptance. You accept yourself completely and fully. You accept the other. So instead of trying to change, we begin to accept and merge these weathers and merge them and say, wow, we can actually co-create. Like, look, you go from one place to the next and there's such diversity in the earth. And imagine if we didn't have seasons or different places, we wouldn't see the beauty. When I went to Joshua Tree National Park in California, that's the desert. And it had its magic and its beauty and its own trees. And I remember being like amazed. Yes, it was hot, you know, but then I'm here in Victoria and I go to a lake and I'm like, wow, this is magic in paradise. Or I've traveled around the world and I go to, you know, and it's like, wow, this is that diversity. So we as humans is accepting that diversity. That's the Aquarian paradigm we are entering in for the next 2,000 years. Right. Hello.
Right.
You know?
I'm so excited. It's actually exciting. I mean, well, everybody's known my journey recently, been like to hell and back, but I'm digging my way out of that pit and I don't plan on looking back. And things have really, I now see why, in my point of what I went through in that to be where I'm at now with the things that are coming into my life and into fruition, that Tatiana helped open up all those doorways. And it was planetary. Everything, the reason going and everything was all planetary. The planetaries were aligned perfectly to show confirmation that this is all real and in alignment. It's just mind-blowing. So I highly recommend Tatiana, and I am going to be seeing you much more, and you will be seeing much more of her on the first of every month. Mark your calendar. So she'll be delivering that astrology energy report. Make sure to check out her link below, and remember that for the month of July, that her 2-hour evolutionary birth chart reading will be marked down to 144 from 199. And I want to send everybody so much love, gratitude, grace, and enjoying the summer. And we'll see you next month, and I will see you next week. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much for having me, and blessings and love to you all.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.